introduce myself. This is Ramchandra. I have more than 11 years experience as a Java trainer, and around I have 7 years experience as a Java developer. That is my introduction. In the Sunday, nothing but 2 days before, I given a small demonstration on content of Spring Boot and microservices. Okay, today is our first session. Today is our first session about Spring Boot and microservices. See, if you are already working, I think no need to explain how much important this course in our projects, in companies. If any fresher is here, please be remember, my dear, Spring Boot microservices with REST and cloud deployment concept is our last course to get the job in IT market. And the people who are working already, like Srini, you know, microservices and Spring Boot is very important to protect our job in securable manner. The reason is, before 3 years, 4 years, people used to develop applications by using Spring, but a trend entirely changed. Every project has been developing on top of the Spring Boot microservices from the last 3 years. Also, whatever the project has developed on Spring, those are slowly migrating into Spring Boot. So this course is very much valuable for getting the job as well as for securing our job in the market. So before going to start Spring Boot microservice, before going to start Spring Boot and microservices with REST and cloud, with REST, Spring REST and Spring Cloud, let me give you a small introduction what we learn in our previous courses. What type of knowledge already we have in Java. So we learn already core Java and advanced Java. To be honestly speaking, we don't have terminology like core Java and advanced Java. We have a terminology like JSE and JEE. JSE and JEE. And after that, we learn frameworks. Under the frameworks, you might be learn like Hibernate, you learn like struts, and JSF and Spring. Nowadays, struts and JSF is already outdated, and Hibernate is using very few companies nowadays. The reason is everything is taken care by Spring only. If everything is taken care by Spring, then why do you learn Spring Boot? So before going to these concepts, let me give you a quick and a very snapshot. I'm going to give you quick explanation about what we learn in core Java. Very, very brief discussion, not in depth, very brief. So what we learn in core Java. In core Java, we learn programming language. Basically, core Java it's a programming language. It provides some syntaxes. It provides some syntaxes. In core Java, we learn syntaxes. Please be concentrate here. I don't want to waste your valuable time as well as my time also. Whatever the points we discussed from day one onwards, every point we are going to reveal in our programming concept. So every minute, every day session is very, very important. In core Java level, what we learn? Syntaxes, how to write the class, how to write the keywords, okay, how to write the instructions, how to write the code. After knowing about the syntaxes, we learn about procedure. Procedure means the way we writing program from top to bottom. If you want to develop one .java file in our project, we have to follow some rules. So by following some rules, we are going to write a program. The process of writing program from top to bottom within the .java file is called procedure based on some rules. So these are the things we learn. For example, packages, later import statement, package statement should be only one, later import statement, later class, like this we are writing. So after that, what we learn? Concept we learn. What is encapsulation? What is polymorphism? What is runtime polymorphism? What is inheritance? What is abstraction? How to get the abstraction in Java, like by interfaces, abstract classes, like this, like that, we learn some concept. And whatever the concept we learn related to those concepts we apply on top of some other applications like exception handling, as well as IO streams, as well as multi-threading, string handling, as well as what is that collection framework. So these are the things we learn in core Java. Once we good at core Java, we jumped into what? Advanced Java. In advanced Java, see, especially by using core Java, this is important. Please be remember, this point is useful. We can able to develop character user interface and graphic user interface related applications. We can able to develop character user interface, like how we are interacting with our Java program by using command prompt. That is called character user interface. And graphical user interface, nothing but from our browsers we can able to interact. That is called graphical user interface. By using core Java, we learned these type of concepts. Info Campus Bangalore, please mute your system. If you have any doubts or queries, you can unmute and you can talk with me, no issue. Now, after learn core Java, we learn what? Advanced Java. In advanced Java, this type of terminology not given by Java community people, not given by Java software. These are the terminologies using by trainers. Okay, so basically the actual name for advanced Java is Java Enterprise Edition. Sir, what we learn in advanced Java? JDBC we learn, servlets we learn, and JSP learn. See, we have step-by-step procedure. We have a proper flow to introducing Spring Boot microservices. Today itself, I want to introduce Spring Boot microservices. Okay, please be concentrate. See what we learn in the JDBC. Nowadays, whatever the project we taking, whatever the application we are taking, every application must and should be interacting with the persistent stores. Here, persistent store is nothing but the place which is useful for storing the data permanently, like files. So in the IO streams concept, we learn how to interacting with the files, but files are having lot of limitations. Security problem, switching process problem. We don't have merging concept. We don't have switching concept. We can't making a proper relation between one data to another data. So like this, a lot of limitations we have in the IO streams concept. We have with files persistent store. That's why we people are communicating with databases. Mainly these are SQL based databases, non-SQL based databases. In our Spring Boot, we are going to see SQL-based databases, non-SQL-based databases. SQL-based databases like Oracle and MySQL, and non-SQL databases like MongoDB. So what is exactly the difference between SQL and non-SQL databases, and what are the differences between Oracle and MongoDB and MySQL and MongoDB? We'll see in our coming classes. If you observe, I given small information about my course content. So in the course content itself, I mentioned we are going to interact with the 12th point under the Spring Data JPI, Spring Boot Data JPI. I told you interaction with MongoDB. There I'm going to highlight what are the differences between SQL database, non-SQL database. Okay, don't worry. Just remember this point. So in advanced Java, especially by using JDBC concept, we are always interacting with the Oracle database. We are always interacting with the MySQL database. So every application required persistent store, nothing but the place which is useful for storing the data. If you take your Gmail, your details will be stored in one place. If you take our Aadhaar card application, Aadhaar card details are storing in one place. If you take any PAN card or bank details, whatever the things, if you take any RTO application, nothing but our bike details are permanently stored in one area. Our mocks are permanently storing in one area. Stock market details are permanently storing in one area. Okay, and our Gmail details are permanently storing in one area. So each and every application must and should be required database concept, nothing but persistence concept. But persistent stores are the different software from Java. Java is one kind of software and databases is some other kind of software. Then how can we mingle these two? And then how can we communicating with the database from our Java application? Then how can we make a communication between Java application to database? That type of concept we learn in JDBC. Okay. After that, in servlets, we learn how to develop web applications. Nothing but an application which is going to provide the services to multiple end users at a time. If you take WhatsApp, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Amazon.in, Flipkart, whatever the application you take, every application comes under what? Web application. Okay, now our Zoom is one type of web application. Once you install, you can able to, at a time, I'm giving response to how many end users, how many trainees, 4 trainees. Okay, so at a time, my Zoom meeting will give the response to multiple end users. This is called web type of applications. After that, we can able to develop user interface application by using JSP. So to be honestly speaking, in the initial years, we have these only concepts. After that, frameworks concepts came into the picture, like a Hibernate, Struts, JSF, Spring, like this. So why do we learn frameworks? The main problem while working with the JDBC is JDBC and servlets. For example, if I want to make a communication between Java application, and what is that? Databases. What type of code are we regularly writing? Please be concentrate. Already I mentioned every point is useful to understand the beauty of Spring Boot. Okay, beauty of Spring and Spring Boot. Okay, if you don't have idea on Spring, no issue. I'm going to taking care. Before talking about any concept in Spring Boot, first I'm going to explain theoretically what happened in the Spring. Then how can we overcome that limitation in the Spring Boot? So like that, our way of explanation and our classes are going on. So don't bother. So communication between Java application and database. First, what we people are doing, loading the driver. Later, what we are doing, creating a connection. After that, creating either statement object or prepared statement object or callable statement object. After that, After that, creating query. So query is not a duplicate one. Query is not a duplicate one, but still it is like a duplicate. In coming class, you can understand. So according to JDBC concept view, creating query is not a duplicate one. Why? Maybe Abdullah required getting data from database. He maybe use select query. Sajian may be using update query. Okay, in info campus Bangalore, that guy is using what? Delete query. I'm using some alter query. Srini is using some different query. So query is different from one requirement to another requirement. So it is not a part of what? Duplicate. Okay, it's not a part of duplicate. But remaining thing, you, me, Abdullah, Shajian, Bangalore, Srini, everybody writing these lines of code. Okay, everybody writing same lines of code. After that, we are going to close the connections, close the result set, close the statement object, close the connection object. Once you close the connection, automatically result set, statement, prepare statement, callable statement, everything will be closed. So these are the things we are regularly, these are the things we are writing regularly in our JDBC concept. So everybody, me writing same code, X person is writing same code, Y person is also writing the same code, everybody writing the same code. Okay, so this type of code we are technically calling as boilerplate of code. Boilerplate of code. If any fresher is here, you can understand simply duplicate code. Duplicate code. The code which is writing by every programmer in every application, in every project, and throughout the globe. That is called what exactly? Boilerplate of code. Now, if you comes to the, this is what exactly JDBC. If it comes to the what we can calling as servlets. So in the servlets also we people are writing. In the servlets also we people are writing. What is that? Come on. In the servlets also we are writing boilerplate of code. So while reading data from where? While reading data from browsers, nothing but you can say like login pages, admin pages from dashboard. Okay, if you're reading data from browser, we people are writing one code. What is that? Very simple. Request dot get parameter, request dot get parameter of. If it is a product ID, then we people are writing product ID like this. If it is a product cost, request dot get parameter. What is that? Product price. Okay, simply I'm writing here price, product ID, product price. So these are the what everybody writing, me writing, Abdullah writing, Lokesh writing, Srini writing, everybody writing same piece of code. Lokesh, I'm mute your system. Whenever you require, you can talk with me. Will you please mute your system? Thank you. Okay. Now, see everybody writing the same line of code. Everybody. So this type of code, and also if it is a price, we are always representing price in our real-time projects in the form of double. Then we are going to write. Casting also, double price equal to double dot parse double. This type of coding everybody writing in every application, in every project. Double dot parse double. So this is called boilerplate of code. This is called boilerplate of code. Okay, this is called boilerplate of code. See, whatever the price we are getting, that price I'm writing in the one variable like price one. Okay, price one, that price one we are hand over to here. Yes, price one. Okay, now observe guys, concentrate here. So everybody writing these lines of code while reading the data from where? From browsers, nothing but from forms, simply from forms, or you can say like pages. Okay, so this is the code we are regularly writing in our servlet. See the flow. Already we learn how to, we know how to interacting with the database. Then why do you learn Spring Boot data JPA? Already we learn how to communicating with databases. Then why do we learn Spring Data JPA concept? Already we know to developing the web application. Then why do we learn Spring Boot MVC? So to understand the beauty of these concepts, I'm launching from basic onwards. Okay. Now, sir, no, if you are working with the JSP, if we are working with the JSP, we can easily develop the code now. Compared to the servlet, what is the advantage of the JSP? More productivity. More productivity means programmer can develop the code by writing minimal instructions by using tags. But what is the problem, whenever we writing any JSP file, for example, I'm writing JSP file. For example, I'm writing one JSP file. That JSP file first is going to verification phase is there. Nothing but whether we are using proper tags or not, whether we are using proper library or whether we including the proper library or not by using taglib tag. Okay, whatever the tags we are using, expression tag, declarative tag, directive tags, okay, any custom tags, whether are we using properly or not, that is called verification. If every tag is properly mentioned, then what happened here? Translation. What happened? Translation. See, in the translation phase, our .jsp file converting into what? .java file. Nothing but in the translation phase, JSP technology will converting into what? Servlet technology. After that, what happened? Compilation phase. Nothing but our .java file will converting into .class file. After that, configuration file. After that, configuration phase. Above 4 phases doing by whom? JSP container. In Tomcat or WebSphere or Glassbees or JBoss, every server are implementations for JWE technology. What is JWE? It's a technology, nothing but provide rules and guidelines. Who is implementing JWE technology? Apache Tomcat, Glassfish, Jetty, okay, Jetty, WebSphere. Like this, lot of servers are implementing. So every server containing 2 types of containers mainly. One is servlet container to understand the servlet rules. Another one is JSP container to understand the JSP specification. First 4 phases are doing by whom? JSP container. After completion of configuration means hand over this .class file from JSP container to servlet container. What servlet container will do? It will performing loading phase. It will performing instantiation, nothing but object creation. After that, initialization, providing proper inputs to that. After that, servicing phase. In this phase, our request will be processed. And finally, what? Destroying phase. So like this, lot of phases are including. To be honestly, I'm speaking, lot of time consuming process. According to programmer point of view, writing the code is very simple by using JSP, but according to performance wise, JSP is not a good technology. The reason is, again, initially our file is .jsp, but again it will converting into .java, nothing but our JSP technology internally converting into what? Servlet technology. So according to programmer point of view, JSP is a very flexible technology to developing user interface applications, but performance wise, these are the not good. That's why nowadays people are not using this concept directly. That's why in our companies, especially in my project, we never ever encouraging these type of things. Got it? So in the core Java levels, we learn basics and basic applications, syntaxes, procedures, exception handling, how to handle the exception, how to develop our own exceptions, user-defined exception handling with user-defined exceptions. See, in Spring Boot also we have a user-defined exception handling concept. That's what I'm telling, what we learn in the previous courses. Okay. Now, after that, in the advanced Java, what we learn? JDBC, but lot of boilerplate of code. Just I'm giving one scenario. Like this, lot of problems are there. I can't say like problems. I have to use one word like limitations. The reason is, even we are working with the Spring also internally uses the concept like JDBC. That's what I don't want to use the word like drawback. That is the wrong terminology. Don't use drawbacks. Only better to use the limitation. Okay, there are some limitation like a boilerplate of code while working with the JDBC. while working with what? Servlets. While working with servlets. So to overcome these problems, what happened? Frameworks came into the picture. To overcome the limitations, again I use the word like problem, sorry for that. To avoiding these limitations, frameworks came into the picture like a Hibernate, which is the alternative for JDBC. Struts and JSP, these are the alternative for what is the servlets and what we can call it as JSF. And after that, Spring. So I will introduce Spring. First, let me give a small introduction about framework. What is framework? What is a framework? Framework is a ready-made application. Framework is a ready-made application, or you can say semi-finished application. Framework is a ready-made applications, or you can say semi-finished application. So most of the people, whenever I'm using this type of word like a semi-finished, most of the people are arguing who are working in the company. Sir, Spring, it's a fully developed now. If it is a fully developed, why do we write our code in our project? We are only taking the support of the Spring. But according to our project requirement, we have to write our own code. Na? So according to our project point of view, framework is what here? Semi-finished application. By using only Spring, we can't develop Amazon.in application. We can't develop a Gmail application. We can't develop any Twitter and LinkedIn application. We have to write our own code according to our project requirement. So according to our project requirement, you can say framework is a ready-made application, or you can say framework is semi-finished application. Got it? Now, what is the use? By using this semi-finished application, we can able to develop our own required applications. By using these semi-finished applications, by using these ready-made applications, we can able to develop our own applications. Okay, now whenever we go to the Hibernate, there is no concept like loading the driver, creating connection, closing the connection, okay, creating statement object. This concept is taken care by whom? Your Hibernate. So whenever we coming to the servlets, what happen? We are going to read the data. Whatever the data which is sending by the end user, everything will be stored in the either servlet request object or HTTP servlet request object. From there, servlet request or HTTP servlet request. While working with the generic servlet, we have a method like a servlet request. While working with the HTTP servlet, we have a class like HTTP servlet request. So by using that request object, we are going to read the data according to our requirement. We are going to converting, parsing. This concept we are technically calling as parsing. So we have to do all these things. But if it comes to the frameworks, auto binding concept is there. Auto parsing concept is there. If it comes to the struts and JSF, auto binding concept is there. Okay, now then why do you go for, sir, the alternative for JDBC is Hibernate and alternative for struts and servlets and JSP is what here? Struts and JSP. Then why do you learn Spring? Why do you learn Spring? Now, up to now, what I did, I given basic idea on what we learn in our previous courses. So this is the right time to introduce what is Spring. Once I give a little introduction about the Spring, later slowly we will enter into Spring Boot. So most of the people thinks like Spring Boot is a framework. My dear guys, to be honestly I'm speaking, Spring Boot is nothing but it is a one different kind of developing Spring application only. It is a different approach to developing Spring only. So don't be bothered about the Spring Boot. It's a damn easy course, damn easy concept. Okay, don't bother. Okay, now observe carefully. So to overcome the limitation of JDBC, we have a Hibernate. To overcome the limitation of servlets and JSP, we have a framework. Then why do you prefer Spring? Now, will you please concentrate, everybody? Everybody? If you take any project in the real time, if you take any project in the real time, project consists of lot of logics, different types of logics, or you can say different types of layers. Presentation layer, okay, and business layer. On top of every layer we have a huge discussion. Okay, my intention is only one thing. I want to introduce Spring. What is Spring? Okay, after completion of the what is Spring, later I will introduce Springboard. So we have a presentation layer, we have a business layer, we have a service layer, we have a data interaction layer, or you can say, some people you can calling as data access object, DO layer, or some people are calling as a DTO layer. Okay, now different types of layers are there. So what is the use of the presentation layer, which is useful for giving the permission or giving the chance to end user to interacting our applications. For example, if I I want to send one mail to my team lead, then I'm opening simply www.gmail.com. Then gmail.com home page will open, login page will open first. So that is called interaction, user interaction. For example, I want to purchase one product in the Amazon.in. If I want to purchase one product in the Amazon.in, then Amazon.in will provide some user interface. The page which is useful for communicating with application is called user interface. Now I want to set one product like Vivo V21 5G. I want to search about this product. Then by using this page, see, lot of images are displayed. I want to purchase this mobile. I'm just clicking on this. So by clicking, I can able to interacting with the Amazon.in website or Amazon.in application. So this type of interaction we are calling as presentation. Okay, in Spring Boot we are using .js space, .timeleaf, .html. We are using different types of presentation technologies. Okay, leave it, we'll see in coming classes. So presentation layer, it is just interaction between end user and application. After that, business layer, this is request handling. Okay, I'm clicking on, for example, I'm clicking on compose button. Now I open my Gmail, guys. Yes, this is the Gmail. This is my Gmail. Now I want to send one mail to my students. I want to send today class notes to my student. Just I'm clicking on compose button. Whenever I'm clicking on compose button, then appropriate response is coming from whom? Gmail application. So this response is handling by one class. If I'm clicking on inbox, then displaying what? All my messages. This service is doing by what? One class. Okay, now see, very simple here. You want to Spring Boot microservices. You ask to Prakalpana management, and Prakalpana management arranging what? Ramchandra. So you need core Java, some other faculty will come. You need advanced Java, some other faculty come. According to your requirement, Prakalpana is showing some direction to one faculty or not. So you need Spring Boot microservices. Prakalpana arranging what? Faculty like Ramchandra. So Prakalpana is like what here? It's a business layer. According to our requirement, appropriate classes will be executing. That is called business layer. Service layer, this is what exactly, sorry, this is web layer. Sorry guys. So business and service both are same. Business in the overlook I mentioned. Yeah, the second one is web layer. This is what exactly request handling. The overlook I mentioned like that. Web layer. So web layer, or you can say request handling. So web layer is concentrate on what you are request handling. Business layer and service layer. Business layer and service layer purely belongs to our requirement. For example, I want to send one mail to my team lead. Then I have to write some logic. I want to withdraw some amount from my account. Then I need to write some logic. I want to deposit some amount to my account. Then we have to write some logic. So project related logic is comes under what here? Business layer. Please be concentrate. After that, yes, I'm withdrawing 10,000 rupees from my account. My account balance is 15,000. I just withdraw 10,000 rupees. Remaining balance is what? 5,000. Where it will be stored? It will be storing in the database. So that type of layer we can calling as data integration layer, or data interaction layer, or data integration layer, or data access layer. Okay, communicating with database. Now already we have an idea on Spring and Struts. Most of the people don't know JSF. Let me delete. Already we have an idea on Hibernate and Struts. Then why do you learn Spring, sir? Then why do you learn Spring, Mr. Ram? So very simple here. If you are working with the Hibernate, you can able to develop only data interaction layer. If you are good at Hibernate, we can able to develop only data interaction layer, but it can't help us to developing web layer and business layer. If you want to develop web layer and business layer, we required one more framework, that is called Struts. Now here, this is what Hibernate. So Hibernate is ORM based framework. Please be concentrated. Terminologies are useful. Hibernate is what here? ORM based framework. Struts is what here? Web based framework. So if you want to develop web layer, you can develop with the presentation layer also, no issue. You can develop the first three. We are using Struts. If you want to develop data interaction layer, then we are using Hibernate. So we must and should be good at two frameworks. We have to use two frameworks and their integration. So Struts is not supported to, let me say one note point here, note Struts and Hibernate frameworks. Struts and Hibernate frameworks won't supported to develop end-to-end application. That means individual. I'm talking about individually. Struts is not sufficient to develop entire project, as well as Hibernate is not supported to develop entire project. So the beautiful idea came into mind, like Rod Johnson. He got an idea. Why can't we develop a framework which consists of both web-based and ORM-based? I hope you understand the clarity. So before Spring, we have a ORM-based framework, web-based framework. Before Spring, we have a ORM-based framework and a web-based framework. By using only ORM-based framework, we can't develop entire project. In the same manner, by using web-based framework, we can't develop entire project. So we have to combine. If you want to develop entire project, we have to use both web-based frameworks, ORM-based frameworks. So don't worry, what is ORM-based framework? We'll see under the data JPA, Spring Boot data JPA concept. I'm going to teach you what is JDBC. What is the difference between JDBC versus Spring JDBC? Okay, what is the difference between Hibernate and Spring ORM? Sir, to alternative of JDBC, we have a Spring JDBC. Alternative for Hibernate is what? Spring ORM. Then why do we learn Spring Data JPA? Why do we learn Spring Data JPA? So it is our course part. It is a part of our course. See, Spring Data JP is our part of our course. So there I'm going to teach you very clearly about JDBC. I'm going to write some code also. I'm going to write some code on JDBC and Spring JDBC, Hibernate and Spring ORM. Later I will tell you about Spring Data JPA. I will write some snippets then only we can understand the beauty of Spring Data API. So let's come to our actual business. What is that? So if you want to develop an end-to-end application means what? All the types of logics. All the types of logic means presentation layer, web layer, business layer, data interaction layer. Nothing but user interaction logic and request handling logic, project related logic, and communicating with the databases. If you want to write all these types of logics, we have to use combinedly these two frameworks. Then Rod Johnson got the concept like, why can't we develop combination of these two? Better to develop combination of these two frameworks that we can calling as application development framework. The third type of a framework is application development framework. So before Spring, we have two types of frameworks. One is web-based framework, another one is ORM-based framework. One is web-based framework, another one is ORM-based framework. In the web-based framework, we can able to develop only web layer, business layer. If you come to the ORM-based framework, we can develop only data interaction layer. Got it? Anand, please mute your system. The flow is very good. So by using struts, we can develop only first three. By using ORM, we can develop only last. Then Rod Johnson got some idea to develop all the logics. Why can't we develop all the logics by using one framework? So that's why Rod Johnson introduced this concept like a Spring framework to develop entire project. If you want to develop end-to-end application, nothing but if you want to develop presentation layer, web layer, business layer, as well as data interaction layer, we have only one framework in the market, that is Spring. That is the greatness of Spring. See, to be honestly, I'm speaking, whenever we learning any new thing, better to learn what happened in the background. So once you are able to understand the background, then future is very, 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 very simple. So by using Spring or Spring Boot, what can we do? We can able to develop each and every type of logic. This is the introduction about the Spring. This is the introduction about the Spring. So let me give you a quick and brief explanation what we discussed in today's session. See, not yet completed. Still, I want to talk more and more. Okay. Don't be feel like it's a demo. This is what already I given demo on Sunday, course content I given. So this is our first session. So our course content is, our course name is Spring Boot and Microservices with REST and Cloud. So before this learning this course, we already learned some courses like Spring, Struts, Hibernate, as well as what? Java EE, as well as Core Java, nothing but Java SC. What we learn in the Core Java, just syntaxes, synopsis, procedures, rules, guidelines, small applications. Okay, nothing is there in the Core Java. But without Core Java, learning Spring Boot is foolishness. To be honestly, I'm speaking. Without having knowledge on Core, we can't learn Spring Boot. Without having knowledge on Spring, you can learn Spring Boot. Without having knowledge on Spring, you can learn Spring Boot. But without having knowledge on Core Java, no course we can't learn. No course we can learn in Java. So Core Java is very, very important. So leave it above. So in the Core Java, we learned very basic concept. After that, we learned what here? Advanced Java. In the Advanced Java, what we learn? JDBC. For what? To communicating with the persistent store. And after that, servlets to developing the web application. After that, JSP. It is also one type of technology to develop web application. But internally, JSP will converting into what? Servlet. How internally JSP will converting into servlet? Some phases are there. What is that? Verification phase, translation phase, compilation phase, configuration phase. Otherwise, if you observe my Advanced Java notes, see guys, I'm the faculty. I'm teaching Core Java, Advanced Java, Spring, and Spring Boot to Microservices and real-time Java tools also. So no problem. Whatever the course you need from me, everything I'm going to teach you. See, for example, backup advanced Java photos. Yeah, give me 1 second of time. Only one. So I want to show you pictorially. That is the main intention. Nothing else. 1 second. This is my advanced Java. Yeah. Yeah. This is the point I discussed. Whenever we developing any JSP file, finally what happened? In the verification phase, whether our code is valid or not, whether we are using tags properly or not, whether we open the tag properly as well as closed or not. Once you using the tag, related library added by us or not, by using @taglib directory tag. Okay. Once everything, every code and every tag is valid, then our code will be converted into .java. Nothing but our JSP file again converting into what? .java, nothing but servlet. Later compilation, are we doing any grammatical mistakes or not? Lot of mistakes we can do who learning the JSP, don't worry. If you comes to, yeah, already you know that. Okay, now once compilation happen, we are hand over that dot class file to which container? Servlet container. Already I told you, Stormcat, Jetty, JBoss, WebSphere, WebLogic, all these servers are implementations of JWE technology. So whatever the rules given by JWE, like servlets and JSP, those are implemented by all the servers. This is the Tomcat server internal. Okay, now observe here. So once compilation happen, that file will be handed over to servlet container. Servlet container will do loading, instantiation, initialization, servicing, destroy. So in this phase, we will get the response. In this phase, we will get the response. We means what? End user will get the response. So lot of phases are involved in where JSP technology. See, according to, then why do you introduce it by the Java community people? Don't be asked like that. Will you please concentrate my wording? According to programmer point of view, JSP is the best technology to developing web application. The reason is we are going to write the code by writing minimal. We are going to developing the application by writing minimal code. Minimal code means less code. Programmer point of view, it's okay. But internally, again, it will convert it into servlet. There is a little time consuming problem. So these are the points. This is the diagrammatic representation. Anyhow, I'm going to share. So please wait up to end of the session. The reason is I'm going to tell you how the remaining classes are going on, how I'm going to share my documentations, images, class notes, and programs, everything. So wait for up to end of the first session. Yeah. So those are the points I mentioned. Those are the points I mentioned here in 9 phases. So in JDBC, in servlets, and in JSP, some limitations are there. That's why we went to frameworks. So frameworks mainly classified into 2 types. Framework mainly classified into 2 types. Types of frameworks. Types of frameworks before Spring. Before Spring. What are those? Web-based frameworks, web-based framework, and ORM framework. Web-based framework and ORM framework. So one of the example for ORM framework is Hibernate. Don't be think like only Hibernate, guys. We have a top link, Eclipse link, OpenJPA, iBatis. So if you're working in companies, then you might be hear this type of words: Hibernate, top link, okay, Eclipse link, OpenJPA, Eclipse link, OpenJPA, iBatis. So like this, lot of ORM frameworks tools are there. Okay, if it comes to the web-based, struts, JSF, these type of things are there. Okay, web-based. There are 2 types before Spring. But already I told you, with the help of struts, I can able to develop only first 3. And mainly 2 and 3, especially struts, 2 and 3, web and business. Okay, If you are working with the ORM, I can develop only 4. So whenever we developing application before Spring, we are always using combination of these two. But if you comes to the Spring is what here? Application-based application framework. Spring is what here? Application development framework. That what is the meaning like application development framework? We can able to develop end-to-end application, nothing but we can able to develop a web layer, business layer, data interaction layer, everything we can able to develop. And to be honestly speaking, in Spring Boot, we have Spring Boot tag library or Spring tag library. By using Spring tag library, we can able to develop presentation also. Can able to develop presentation also. We'll see in coming class. The beauty, very good framework. That's why if you go to any interview as a 3+ years experience or 5+ years experience, or if you are a fresher, see, my dear guys, if you are a fresher, the people who are listening my class currently as a fresher, for interview, to attend the interview, to select in the interview, core Java, advanced Java is sufficient. But the next day, once you select and once you join in the next day, they are giving 10 to 15 days. In my companies regularly, 14 days, 15 days, we are providing training. Or in some other companies, only 1 week. They are giving training on Spring Boot or Spring and asking to develop applications and asking to sit in the project. So interview purpose, core and advanced is sufficient, but to sustain, to protect our job in companies, Spring Boot microservices is very, 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 very important. This is the heart. Spring Boot microservices and real-time tools. If you put this type of words in your resume will be shortlisted very soon. And how can we shortlisted your resume in the interviews? I will tell you, don't worry. How to act very smart in the companies. Okay, how to put what we can calling as fake experience. Like, I don't want to give any consultancy names here. How to behave and how to act. Okay, and how to do regular work in the companies. Everything I will teach you. How to create our resume. Everything I will tell you. End of the Spring Boot sessions. Okay. So if you are a fresher, please learn Spring Boot microservice properly. Your life will be changed. If you are already employed in any XYZ company, better to upgrade your skills in Spring Boot. Okay. Now Spring is an application development framework. We can able to develop end-to-end applications. Simply you can say Spring is the combination of web-based and ORM-based framework. Spring is what here? Web-based and ORM-based framework. Got it? It is just introduction. In today's session, I told you the initial point related to Spring. What is that? Spring is an application development framework. Spring is an application development framework. We can able to develop by using Spring. By using Spring, we can able to develop end-to-end application. End-to-end application means all the types of logics we can able to develop. More and more interesting facts about the Spring I'm going to give you in tomorrow's session, and it's my kind request here, 1 hour duration everyday session. So don't be joined lately. That means I'm not asking to don't join. If you have a work, you can join later, no problem. But try to join the session exactly at 8:30. Exactly at 8:30. Okay. Every day I'm going to take the session from 8:30 to 9:30. Okay. And one more thing is, sir, how I'm going to share this documentation.